What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. So, been busy. Like I told you guys, we were going to be busy. But I think for the next maybe 3 weeks, maybe around 3 weeks, I should have time to put out content. So, my plan is to do that, hopefully daily. I ain't gonna lie, since I got out of the grind, it is harder to get back into it. But today I got a story. It's a new Folsom story, and let's just go. Let's just get into it. So, I've made my stance on drugs clear. In prison, I did not like Raza using drugs. And it was pointed out how, Dub says that he didn't like Raza using drugs, but then he sold drugs to him. And that's the truth. I did. And people may think, well, that's pretty hypocritical. And my only answer for you is this. Those of you that know prison, those of you who have unfortunately done prison time, you will know that 90% of what goes on in there is very hypocritical. Even the rules that that men in there are supposed to function under, they become fluid at times. They're enforced sometimes. Other times people look the other way, which would be very hypocritical as well, right? And that's kind of like where this story is today. And so before I get into it, I also wanted to point out the old, this old thing that I guess every dope dealer says. They're going to buy it. Why not make money off it, right? And for those of you that know, you're already aware. Those of you that don't, Raza is only allowed to buy, or back then, I don't know about now, was only allowed to buy dope from Raza or whites. The others too, they could buy it from the others, but it was like, but they were not allowed to buy from blacks. So when you are on a yard, when you're in prison, everybody is obligated to something, right? And that thing generates money. And so when you are engaged in certain activities, you want to ensure that your people, if they are spending money, they spend it within your ramfla, your thing, not someone else's. You don't want to see your people enriching other cars. That's bad for business, right? So that's a little bit of my explanation. I just got back from the gym. I'm tired. That's a little bit of my explanation on that. Now, I want to tell you a story of one of the most scandalous dudes. One of them. I know a few. Maybe I would do a scandalous dude series, right? But I had hit New Folsom in 95, February of 95. And I met a homeboy of mine, an older homie, right? He actually grew up with my dad. He was my dad's age, right? He had started doing time in the 70s. So when I met him, I was like, all right, Holmes, But right away, anybody that knows the history of Santa Barbara in the 70s, as soon as I heard that he'd been doing time since the 70s, I immediately called home, asked around. They were like, nah, he wasn't involved with the Solsas or none of that. He was actually one of the first ones that was allowed to hit San Quentin and not get hit. One of the first dudes from Santa Barbara was allowed to actually be there and not get moved on just for being from Santa Barbara. So I meet him, we wind up selling up, and he was one of the biggest dope fiends that I ever met. And I mentioned it before. I'll mention it again. There is a huge difference between a tecato, somebody that uses, and a dope fiend. A vato that's a tecato is gonna get his high. You know what I mean? He's gonna do what he's got to do to get high, stay well, right? A dolphin will steal from anybody, including family. They're going to be scandalous. They're going to try to work people. And my homeboy was a dolphin, right? This vato was a porter. He might have been the lead porter. I don't know. And we were in B7. We're Sally's in B7, right? And this dude could be out of the cell anytime, all day. You know what I mean? And there would be time. We lived in B section. There'll be a vato in A section. Say, hey, Aons, can you pass this to C section? It would be some dope. You see, I got you. And he would come in the cell, clip the paper, and go take the vato what was left. I used to be like, hey, Holmes, that's scandalous, you know. But he's like, hey, don't worry about it. I'm doing this, you know. Like, all right. Well, I wound up getting moved to which I think it was B6. Yeah, B6, because another homie got a job in B7, right? And that might have to tell that story. They put me in the cell. The homie, he's like, hey, fool, Spencer. He goes, hey, you're going in my cell? And I go, yeah. And he goes, Spencer, fool. He goes, my cell, the vato you're about to move in is a JCat, fool. And I go, serio? I'm like, a righteous one? He goes, homie. He goes, do you don't know who the radiation man is? I go, no. And he goes, you're about to find out. So I moved in with the radiation man. Chingao. For a couple days. It was weird. But, so that's when I separated from my homeboy, right? Now, his name was Güero. Okay? And no, it's not Güero B. For those of you from the area that watch, it's not him. There's another one, right? Güero W. So, another homie comes from Bruta, right? From the east side. Gato, right? And me and Gato, we get along good. We're kicking it every day, you know. And, well, one day, the vato that I've told many stories about my Sally, who was like the main dude on the yard, right? Well, at this time, we're not Sally's. I wound up selling up with them after this, around, you know, the same time, though. But me and Gato are walking, and the vato comes up, and he's like, hey, I need to holler at you real quick. So, you know, when you have somebody like that telling you that, you know, something's going down, right? So I was like, what's cracking? He says, hey, homie, you know, your homeboy Güero, he owes some feria. And I said, oh, yeah. I said, well, whack him. And he's like, huh? I said, whack him. I said, like, you want me to whack him? Are you asking me if I'll whack him? And he's like, nah, homie, I was asking you if you would help him out and get him out of debt. I said, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. And Gato didn't say nothing. He's just listening, right? And I said, no, I'm not going to help him. And he's like, hey, fool, that's your homeboy. He's been doing this shit since the 70s, this and this and that. And I said, exactly. He knows better. I said, who does he owe? He goes, fuck, fool, that's the thing. He owes the blacks. I said, whack him. And he's like, man, Holmes, you know, but. And basically he was showing him favoritism. I didn't give a fuck. He's my homeboy. I didn't give a fuck he was doing this since the 70s. This is favoritism. And I asked the homie, I said, hey, Holmes, look, if it would have been a vato my age, would you be going to their homeboys? And he's like, nah, fuck no. I said, this vato's been around. He knows what he's doing. And he's like, well, hold on. And he goes, let me talk to somebody. So he walks off. Gato asked me, hey, Holmes, you seriously not going to help the homie? I said, fuck no, I'm not going to help him, Holmes. Because I knew Güero's whole fucking mentality for being his Sally. His stance was always this. I burn who I think is a punk. If I think a vato's really with it, I will never touch his shit. I will never burn him. But vatos that I see cowardice in, I'll clip them. What the fuck are they going to do? To me, I was like, this vato's just scandalous. You know, but. So, I'm telling Gato, nah, not helping this vato at all. Ain't no way. And he's like, fuck it, homie. He goes, I'm going to pay the debt. I said, don't pay his debt, Holmes. He said, I'm going to pay it. And I said, this is what's going to happen. You're going to pay his debt. He's going to come up to you and he's going to tell you, hey, gracias, homeboy, but you didn't have to do that. And then he's going to tell you, but I appreciate it anyways. I'll be getting something this weekend and I'll look out for you. I said, he's not gonna look out for you, fool. It's drag. He's like, man, nah, I'm not helping him. I was like, cool, I'm not. So Gato did get him out of his debt, being a good homie. And Gato's a little bit older than me. I think he's like 2 years older than me. And so sure enough, he pays the debt, right? Everything goes away. And a few days later, me and Gato are walking laps. Here comes Güero. Hey, Cat, can I talk to you real quick? He's like, yeah, what's up? He's like, hey, Holmes, I just heard, that you covered that for me. He's like, you didn't have to do that, Holmes. These bottles weren't going to do shit. You didn't have to do that. But I appreciate it. I'm going to have something coming, and I'm going to look out for you, right? And I was just trying not to laugh. So Güero takes off, probably trying to go hustle somebody outside of a paper, And Gato's like, hey, fool, he just said exactly what you said. I said, yeah, and he's going to do exactly what I told you. Watch. A week goes by, and he's like, hey, that Vato didn't give me shit. I said, he never will. He never will. Don't ever pay a debt for that dude. So he's like, damn, you were right. I should have listened to you. Now, fast forward. When they put the fence around the weight pile, they shrunk the weight pile. They put a fence around it. And I've touched on it before in the past, so I'll touch on it again right now because it's part of the story. When they put that fence around the weight pile was in our area, the southern area, and the Bulldogs area, right? The blacks had to walk through either the Bulldogs area or the Southern Razas area in order to get to the weight pile. They were trying to get into the weight pile to work out. The Vatos, the Southern Raza, was upset because they would come through like the polo bars and stuff. And, it's basically a violation, right? And I went on 2 occasions to go discuss this. How can we figure out a new pathway? There really wasn't anything that could be done. They were, for the most part, going through the Bulldogs area because the Bulldogs weren't tripping on it, right? But there would still be some, last minute, oh, fuck, the weight pile. And they would come running and it was creating tension. Well, it was decided that it was wartime, right? These Vatos keep coming through here. And there were other things behind the decision, right? But once again, it was a riot that really should not have happened. Somehow, some way, the blacks caught wind of it, right? And I know there's another channel that dude, I don't remember his name, that black dude, that he swears I don't know what I'm talking about, even though I was involved in that. The blacks talked to who they needed to talk to on the Raza side and said, look, we heard you guys are tripping. We trying to make money. If you guys are tripping over a dope debt, any Mexican dope debts on this yard will wipe them out. We'll wipe them out. Everybody just keep getting their money, right? So the Vato that had the keys at the time, the llavero, he was cool with it. He was like, fuck it, It's all good. So he goes back and he's talking to his, his bloqueros and the guys he's got on his little mesa. Hey, this is what we're going to do. Guess who comes out? My homeboy Güero. Mind you, at the time, now I'm already in the oil for a shoe I picked up about 2 or 3 months prior to this, right? But anybody that knows the discussions that are had in those type of situations, we find out word for word in the back, in the hole. So my homeboy Güero comes out, goes to the llavero, and he's like, what was that meeting about? And for some reason, they used to give this dude, Güero, my homeboy, like a lot of leeway because he had been down, been around since the 70s. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. Everybody's equal. Everybody's the same. And so they tell him, oh, this is what they said. And my homeboy Güero was like, yeah, but you ain't gonna accept that, are you? And they're like, yeah, shit, why not? And my homeboy Güero told him, well, let me just tell you this, eh? They approached you and said that they knew that the homies were going to get off, right? Yeah. So they basically put you on notice now. He goes, what if they decide, you know what, we can't trust these Mexicans, and they get off on us? And he says, what if a homie winds up getting hurt? That's your career. So basically, my homeboy planted the seed, right? The pedo jumps off. Well, it wasn't the only one. There were other ones, it's just the way it is. There was a lot of people that wanted it to go that way, but the seed that was planted was a cold one. The dude didn't want to wreck his career. He didn't want to be, we had the jump and then we stopped and then they got the jump, right? So the shit happens. The shit jumps off. And like I told you, my homeboy had the ability to be out of his cell all day, every day. And on the day of the riot, he was in his cell. What the fuck was that all about? A lot of people were very upset. He wasn't a coward. He wound up later beating a Hura with his own baton, going to the shoot for that in a different prison. He was just a scandalous dude. I don't know what motivated him to even get involved to say what he said, because he was never into politics. He was just into getting high. But that's how treacherous that world is, That's how cold that world is. That's just a glimpse into it. So there's my story for the day. It's a long one. I never tell long ass stories like this, or it's very rare that I do. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And like I said, for the next probably about the next 3 weeks, I'm going to have time. Hopefully I'll be able to come up with some stories. I wish I could strangle this camera because I hate when it does that bullshit it just did. But anyways, everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them. I'm out.